Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today the Warriors of Chaos have gone on pre-order, which means I can finally talk to you about the Arcane Journal. There's a bunch of new factions, as you can imagine, some new type of units, and a lot of really interesting changes here. Once again, before we begin, a big thank you to Games Workshop for the early access to the copy. I do appreciate it. It's actually a faction that I've been waiting for a long time now, and is very likely to be my main faction for Warhammer the Old World out of the core factions. As per usual, we'll be going over some of the new changes. We won't be going through the whole book out of respect for Games Workshop, but there's quite a bit to talk about, so let's just jump right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Wolves of the Sea. This is a Norscan list, which I imagine people are going to be quite excited for given the preview yesterday. We'll talk about the army composition first. So, characters up to 50% of your points value may be there. 0 to 1, Chaos Lords, Demon Princes, or Sorcerer Lords, you are quite limited there. 0 to 1 Exalted Champions or Exalted Sorcerers per 1000 points, but you can have as many Aspiring Champions and Marauder Tribe Chieftains as you so wish. When it comes to core, you have to spend 25% of your points value there, and that is Chaos Marauders, Marauder Horsemen, Marauder Tribe Berserkers, these are new units, there's a bunch of new make-your-own units in here, and finally Chaos Warhounds. Next, we got Special. Up to 50% of your army's point value may be spent here, which is Chaos Warriors, Chaos Chariots, Skin Wolves, Marauder Tribe Huskarls, a new one, and of course the Chaos Spawn. Then we've got Rare, up to 33% of your army's point value may be spent here. That is as many Chaos Ogres, Chaos Trolls, and Dragon Ogres as you so wish. 0 to 1 Gigantic Spawn of Chaos, I'm so used to calling them Gigantic Chaos Spawns, per 1000 points. 0 to 1 Dragon Ogre Shagoths per unit of Dragon Ogres. And finally 0 to 1 Chaos Giants per 1000 points. You do have Mercenaries here, by the way, which is up to 25% of your army's point value, which is Gore Herds and Ungore Herds. It's a kind of interesting one there. It's not too bad. I mean, it's still very basic stuff that you don't have access to just yet because the Beastmen aren't out yet. So yeah, you're going to have to wait a while if you're going to want to use them. Now, with the Battle Standard Bearer, your Aspiring Champion or your Marauder Tribe Chieftain may be a Battle Standard Bearer, which is kind of cool. I think that's something that a lot of people are going to like. Alright, special rules. There's not a lot, but they are quite interesting. The first one is Favor of the Gods. If a character within a Wolves of the Sea army kills their opponent in a challenge, they must immediately roll on the Gaze of the Gods table. In addition, should a unit within a Wolves of the Sea army claim the standard of an enemy unit as a trophy of war, that unit may immediately make a roll on the Gaze of the Gods table, changing the reference from this model to this unit. Yeah, you're gonna get actually a lot more powerful buffs for a unit. We've got Seaborn Raiders next, which is as follows. Units of Chaos Marauders and Marauder Horsemen within a Wolves of the Sea army may have the Ambusher's special rule for 1 point per model. Aspiring Champions whose troop type is Infantry or Cavalry within a Wolves of the Sea army may also have the Ambusher's special rule for 10 points a model. This is, of course, if you want to have more of a skirmishing type of army, a little bit of ambush here. It's not too bad, to be honest. And then finally we have the Warriors Duel. This is the one that got a lot of people excited yesterday. Instead of rolling off to determine which player takes the first turn, you may challenge your opponent to a Warriors Duel. If your opponent accepts, both players choose a single unit champion with a wounds characteristic of 1 whose troop type is Infantry or Cavalry from within their army to fight a Warriors Duel. These chosen combatants then fight as if engaged in a challenge, fighting as many rounds of combat as necessary until, yeah, you've got a winner. Essentially what happens here is, if you win, you've got first roll. If your enemy decides to decline the challenge, well, at this point, you can then go first. And, in a way to fight off the Bretonnians, yeah, if they accept the challenge, it acts as they've prayed. However, if they say no, well, you've lost your Grail Vow and your Knightly Vow and so on. Though, you know, a Grail Knight is a unit champion and it's got 1 wound, so it's going to be a bit difficult to not fight a duel with a Grail Knight. Now for the second Army of Infamy, we've got the Heralds of Darkness. This is a cavalry-focused one, which you're very heavily incentivized to monogod it, which is really curious too, considering that Games Workshop have recently said that they're going to focus more on Undivided. But for the characters, you can get up to 50% of your army's total point value. That is 0 to 1 Chaos Lords or Demon Princes, 0 to 1 Exalted Champions or Sorcerer Lords per 1,000 points, and as many Aspiring Champions and Exalted Sorcerers as you so wish. When it comes to core, that has to be 33% of your army's total point value, which is +1 units of Chaos Knights, so yes, you have to have one in your army, as many Marauder Horsemen and Chaos Warhounds as you wish, and 0 to 1 Chaos Chariots may be taken as a core choice, which isn't too bad. Yeah, you can go full Chaos Knight if you so wish. For special, we've got 50% of your army's total point value, which is 0 to 1 Chosen Chaos Knights. Yes, it's a new unit, but I don't believe they have new models. Or maybe we might see some in the future. Right now, there's nothing. 0 to 1 Chaos Chosen Chariots too. This is another thing per 1,000 points, which isn't too bad. As many Chaos Spawn, Chaos Chariots, and Chimeras as you wish for special, and as many Dragon Ogres as you wish for special. When you go on to rare, it's 25% of your army's point value, and that is Gore Beast Chariots, as many as you wish. 0 to 1 Dragon Ogre Shagos per unit of Dragon Ogres. 0 to 1 Gigantic Spawn of Chaos per 1,000 points. 0 to 1 Chaos Giants per 1,000 points, and 0 to 1 Warpfire Dragons. You also have access to Mercenaries here, which is up to 25% of your point value, which is Centaur Chieftains, those are a character by the way, and Centaur Herds. In this case, again, I mean, Centaurs aren't bad, but I don't know. I mean, I think you're likely going to go with Marauder Horsemen. For the special rules, we don't have that many, but they are quite interesting. So first up is Mounted Host. All characters within a Heralds of Darkness army must be mounted or have the Fly X special rule. So yeah, your Demon Prince is very viable here. It's something that I've been playing around with some list writing, but it's not too bad. Then we've got Steeds of Darkness. When a unit in this army whose troop type is cavalry or chariot makes a charge, flee or pursuit roll, it may re-roll any dice that roll a natural 1 before discarding any dice that require to be discarded. It's situational, it's very RNG focused, but it does help, and I've run a little bit of a simulation through some testing. It's pretty good if you're unlucky, which I tend to be. Finally, we do have the Shadow Grows. This is what I meant about monogodding it, right? For each character your army includes that has a Mark of Chaos other than the Mark of Chaos Undivided, it must also include a non-character unit with the same mark and vice versa. For example, if your army includes 2 characters with the Mark of Khorne, it must also include 2 non-character units with the Mark of Khorne. So, as you can see, it does kind of incentivize you. While undivided armies are very much viable, it's very likely that you're going to be wanting to theme your armies. It's a shame that the theming is only here. It would be kind of cool to see that in other future stuff, hopefully for monogod stuff, despite what Games Workshop have been saying recently. I like this. I've been working on a Slaanesh rider list, as you guys might have seen on Twitter. I have been kit bashing my Marauder Horsemen with a bunch of Hellstrider stuff, and they look fairly good. I'm looking forward to testing them out on the battlefield on a battle report near you. Alright, so we're going to talk about the characters that are available. There's only 2 in this book. The first one is brand new, Frida the Chainmaker. We don't know much about her. We know she's getting a model, but later down the line. She's an infantry unit. She costs 235 points. Stats are pretty decent. Movement 4, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 3, strength 5, toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks naturally, and then a leadership 9. I would say that, yeah, you know, as a fighter, she's not too bad. She just has chaos armor. She does have impact hits too, which is quite interesting, but I'm assuming that's due to the mutations that she does have. She's got a number of special rules, such as Chainmaker, so an enemy standard captured by Fridal or any unit she's joined is worth 100 victory points, which, yeah, not too bad. Commander of Captain makes your Marauders a little bit better, so unless she's fleeing, the friendly units of Chaos Marauders, Marauder Horsemen, Marauder Tribe Huskarls, and Marauder Tribe Berserkers get +1 to their leadership to a maximum of 10 if they're within her command range. Very situational. The command range isn't too bad, but still, it's a bit, you know. And then Peerless Raider, this one I kind of like. So 0 to 1 unit of Chaos Marauders or Chaos Marauder Horsemen in the same muster list as her may have the Ambusher special rule for free. And if she is your general, you may apply a +1 or -1 to the result when rolling to determine if she or any unit of Marauders, Marauder Horsemen also, Huskarls and Berserkers, if they arrive basically with their ambushing, because you know that can be a bit of an issue sometimes, and you do want it to land on a certain number every now and then. Her item is decent, but only works for the first round of combat, which is a bit So she's got strength 2, minus 1 AP, D3 extra attacks, magical attacks, requires 2 hands. So yeah, I think she's alright. She does also have a shield, she's got full plate also. It's just, yeah, it would be nice to see her, right? I think more than anything else, when you introduce a new character, we're still missing one character for Bretonnia too, which is a bit odd. The other character is a returning one, and it is confirmed that his old model is returning, which is a bit of a shame, I must admit. But this is Golrock the Great Drake. 465 points, he's fairly expensive, with movement 6, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 3, strength 6, toughness 6, wound 6, it's pretty good actually, initiative 5, attack 6, leadership 9. He is on a 60 by 100 base, which is fairly large for for his small model, but I guess, you know. And yeah, I mean, he has full plate armor basically because of his scales. He does have fly 10, he does have swift stride, terror, and regeneration 5. He's got the Mark of Tzeentch, as you can imagine, and Stomp attacks 2d6. Now, like in Warhammer Fantasy, he does have a lot of special rules, which will make him a little bit fun there. So once per game, instead of using Dark Fire of Chaos or Fumes of Contagion, Golrock may instead use the Breath of Change. Place a flame template with its broad end over the intended target, and its narrow end touching Golrock's base edge anywhere along its front arc. So yeah, you can angle it. It's odd, but yeah, you can angle it. The template must lie entirely within Golrock's vision arc too. Any model whose base lies underneath the template risks being hit. Any model hit, friend or foe, must take a toughness test. If the test is failed, the model is overwhelmed by chaos and is removed from play. If it's passed, they are able to fend it off and it's got no effect. It's a toughness test. It's interesting. You can kind of work on it. It depends on what type of list that you have, if you can get any negatives towards the enemy. I like it. It's just I wish he had a better model. That's my only issue. Now, we do have Spirit of Golrock. So during the start of turn subphase for each of your turns, make a leadership test for Golrock. If the test is passed, he's controlled as normal. If the test is failed, well, then the Spirit is rebelling, which then his wizardry level is reduced to 1, and he can only cast 1 spell per turn. He becomes subject to random movement, 2d6, and if he's engaged in combat, he must direct d3 of his attacks to himself. Kind of similar to what we had in the past. Naturally, he is a level 4 wizard with the lore of dark magic. Again, a bit weird, I would have gone with chaos, or maybe with some Tzeentch stuff and so on. But he does have a bunch of special attacks, so it does kind of even out. And obviously there's a risk there, but if you know the lore of Golrock, it makes perfect sense. The dragon that is actually the dragon is fighting Golrock. So Wicked Claws is same strength, minus 2 AP. Pretty decent if you're in melee combat. You do have 2 types of breath attacks, by the way, which I kind of like. You can choose one or the other. One is Dark Fire of Chaos, strength 4, minus 1 AP, breath weapon, flaming attacks, magical attacks, pretty simple. Then there's the Fume of Contagion, which is strength 2, breath weapon, magical attacks, but no armor save may be permitted against it. Ward and regeneration is fine. Both characters are pretty interesting, I'd say. I was kind of hoping we'd get like a little bit of a famous character, but it's been stated by Games Workshop very publicly now that she is a lieutenant for someone else, so it's kind of starting off, and I guess they wanted to bring out Golrock because it's a famous character that they know people will buy, even though the model is quite old. Alright, so there's only one generic character, and this is the Marauder Tribe Chieftains. 65 points, which isn't too bad. It's on a 25 by 25 base. Stats are movement 4, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks, leadership 8. I mean, in terms of like fighting power, it's not bad at all. Now, you can have these guys with a hand weapon, or you can give them flails, great weapons, cavalry spears if you're mounting them, javelins, or the throwing axes, which isn't too bad. You can also give them a shield. They can be marked with any of the marks by 10 points, which it's a bit expensive, but I mean, as you start kitting them out, it's not too bad. They can take 50 points worth of magic items, and yeah, a war horse is 14 points. It's not too bad. It's a light cavalry horse, by the way. So these won't have a model. It actually says here, representing in your game is by using pieces from Chaos Marauders, Marauder Horsemen, and Chaos Warrior kits. If you want cheap characters, I guess this works. Aspiring champions, I think, do better. But I guess if you want characters to fit in your armies with your Marauder troops, it would probably be better. It's not the best option, that's for sure. I think everything else in terms of new units is actually a lot better. So we're going to go jump into that now, because, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you guys can find a use for it. Maybe that's just me. Alright, so let's talk about a bunch of troops here. First up, we have Marauder Tribe Berserkers. 8 points a model. They can have full command for 8 for a champion and then 6 for everything else. You can give them ambushers for 8 points per model. Movement 5, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 4, initiative 3, I was about to say, wounds 1, attacks 1 unless it's a champion, and leadership 7. They'll start off with hand weapons and light armor. You can give them additional hand weapons, which actually, you know, the kit for Marauders for the longest time have had hand weapons and no use for them. Or you can give them flails. You can also give them throwing axes alongside that, so they can be kind of like the Marauder Berserkers in Total War Warhammer, which is pretty good, I'd say. In terms of special rules, they've got Frenzy, Mark of Chaos Undivided. They can't take a mark as far as I can tell here. Move through cover, which is pretty good. Open Order, Relentless Warriors, which we'll talk about in a second. Warband and Skirmishers. So yes, you have a ranged skirmish unit, which you can use to harass. Now, as it comes to Relentless Warriors, a model with a special rule has a 6-up ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by non-magical enemy attacks. So this also means range too, which isn't too bad. And here is another kit bash unit, very similar to what we've seen in other Arcane Journals. You can hear my cat in the background meowing as he wants to be fed, I think? No, his bowl is full. Anyways, representing the unit in your game is mixing pieces from the Marauder kit and the Horseman kit, such as using the helmets for the Marauder Horsemen. They give a little bit of an example there. Next, we have Skin Wolves. So, 45 points per model, with a champion being plus 7 points there. Movement 7, which is really fast. Weapon skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 3 each, which is actually really, really good. Initiative 4, 3 attacks each, 4 on the champion, and leadership 7. These are monstrous infantry, so they're on a 40 by 40 base, and they must be taken in groups of 2 minimum. These are again Chaos Undivided. They do have a Blood Rage rule also, Primal Fury, same as the Beastmen, Open Order, Regeneration 5-up, which is pretty damn good, Skirmishers, Swift Stride, and Warped Form. This is their special, unique rule for them. So, when this unit's combat is chosen during step 1.1 of any Choose and Fight combat subphase, choose one of the following transfigurations. Each transfiguration lasts until the end of your next start of turn subphase. So, Enlarged Claws will give you a armor piercing characteristic extra of +1 plus Armor Bane 2 special rule, which is really, really good. Barbed Protrusions gives them an extra attack, so each model. And then finally, Toughened Flesh increases their toughness by 1, but also their armor by 2. Very interesting here is they have no armor. I'm imagining they're going to get light armor in an FAQ. Sometimes there's FAQs that do appear shortly after the release of these books, and sometimes it's a little bit before. But overall, pretty good. I like them. It's given me a reason to paint my old ones, so I'm kind of happy about that. Marauder Tribe Huskarls have also been implemented, 18 points per model. And they are a cavalry unit. I was actually expecting the Huskarls to be very similar to that of the ones in Total War. But, yeah, like cavalry. Movement 4, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack unless it's a champion, which gets an extra 1, and leadership 7. They'll start off with a light armor and hand weapon, but you can give them cavalry spears for free, which is actually quite nice. Flails for an extra point, or you can also decide to give them some range stuff, which is throwing axes or javelins. You can also give them shields and heavy armor, and these ones, you can actually give them a mark for 2 points per model, so you can give them Sinesh, Nurgle, Zinch, or Khorne. You can give them full command, and you can also have them per 1,000 points. 1 unit may have the drill special rule, which, yeah, I mean, fairly decent. Close Order, Counter Charge, which is a very good rule here. Furious Charge, Mark of Chaos Undivided unless you switch, Swift Stride, and Warband. Now, representing this is another Kit Bash model, so you can have them as Marauder Horsemen, then using stuff from kits such as the helmets and shields from Chaos Warriors. That's what's been said there. I have not attempted to do this. I only have a certain number of kits of Marauder Horsemen from my pile of shame, and I still don't think that those shields for the Chaos Warriors, because obviously you're going to have to cut off pieces of the arm that was there and so on. I don't know if that's going to look well. You can maybe come up with something else if you decide to make these units. I know this isn't ideal, but it's something that has been happening a lot lately. Then, going into the same thing, we do have the Chosen Chaos Chariots. 140 points per model with 2 Chosen crew. You can have them with marks for 10 points per model. Impact hits remain the same, so d6 plus 1. They've got first charge, all the usual stuff. It's literally just putting a Chosen in on a chariot, well, 2 of them. And you can also have this as a mount option for your Heralds of Darkness. What's really interesting is obviously the Chosen are represented by Chosen, with halberds, interestingly enough, but the normal kit, the metal one, is great weapons, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked at that. I'm using Age of Sigmar kits, Painbringers as my Chosen of Sinesh and stuff like that. And I would recommend you guys do that too if you want more themed armies and you don't want to paint metal. Plus, Blood Warriors make excellent Chosen of Khorne. And then finally, we do have the really, really cool stuff, at least in my opinion, because these are things that I've been wanting for a long, long time to see the light of day again. They were obviously released back in the day during the supplementary period of Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition. The first one being the Gigantic Spawn of Chaos. 145 points, 3d6 movement, so it can be very fast, but it can also be very slow. Weapon skills 3, no ballistic skill, strength 6, toughness 6, wound 6, initiative 3, d6 plus 1 attacks, and leadership 10. This is on a 60 by 100. I'm going to have to find mine because that seems a bit small for that model. That seems really small for that model. Stay pending. I'll keep you guys updated through Twitter in a few days' time, I guess, when I find it. But yeah, you can give them marks. They're all different prices. So, like, the Khorne mark is plus 20, Nurgle mark is plus 25, Sinesh mark is 15, Tzeentch mark is 10. It's very random, but I guess, spawns are very different. Keep in mind that, because you will get very different attacks there, because the marks will be different for them too. Now, special rules: standard Armor Bane 2, closed order, first charge, immune to psychology, large target, random attacks, random movement, stomp attacks d6, terror, timber. God, I had to, I'm sorry. It's cringe. And unbreakable. Now, this is when the marks start coming in, right? If the spawn is of Khorne, it gets impact hits d3 plus killing blow. If it's of Nurgle, it gets poison attacks and regeneration 5. If it's of Sinesh, it gets counter charge and strikes first special rule. As you can imagine, me being a Sinesh fan, I am very happy about this. And if it's of Tzeentch, it gets flaming attacks, magic resistance -2. It does have 2 attacks, one being the Slashing Talons, it's the standard one, which is -1 AP, everything else is the same, and Gnashing Maws, which is strikes last, -2 AP, which can only be one of its attack during the end, However, there is a big benefit here, because any wound that you do make with the Gnashing Maws will recover a lost wound for you, which is pretty damn good. These can be taken, by the way, with your standard Grand Armies for the Warriors of Chaos and also the Beastmen Brayherds, so you can start your Beastmen army now, I guess. And they are 0 to 1 for both per 1,000 points as rare choices. I'm going to be running my Sinesh Warriors with one of them, very likely. And lastly, in terms of units, we have the Warpfire Dragon. Now, this one's pretty expensive, 375 points per model, movement 6, weapon skill 6, strength 6, toughness 6, wound 6. Yes, we get it. You like to be edgy, Games Workshop. Initiative 1, 5 attacks, leadership 8. It's got Wicked Claws, Warpfire Blast, we'll talk about that second, but it also has Draconic Scales, which counts as 4 plate armor. A Warpfire Dragon can be a level 1 or level 2 wizard and takes either the Lore of Battle Magic, the Lore of Demonology, or the Lore of Dark Magic, which is pretty damn good. Alongside that, it's got Flight 10, large target, Lore of Chaos, so you can actually take that. Magical attacks, magic resistance -2. It is an undivided creature, regeneration 5, stomp attacks d6, Swift Stride, Terror, and Warpfire Aura, along Explosive Fire Demise. There's a few special rules that we're going to talk about, don't you worry about that. But yeah, as you can tell, it's pretty damn good. It's nice to see this model coming back. I'm a big fan of it. It's a little bit on the expensive side, but I think, for a dragon, which is also a spellcaster, it's not asking for too much. So, let's talk about Explosive Demise. This is special rules. When a Warpfire Dragon loses its last wound, before the model is removed from play, every unit, friend or foe, within 6 inches suffers d6 strength 5 hits, each with a -2 AP, which is pretty damn good. At the end of the day, it's the fact that this monster, this dragon, has actually been ingesting so much warpstone, he is very, very volatile. Fire and Chaos is the next one, which gives you a 5-up ward save against any wounds suffered that were caused by magical attacks or flaming attacks. It's because you're going to be kind of anti-magic. Again, warpstone helping you quite a bit. Warpfire Aura is another good one. So other models, both friend and foe, are not permitted a ward save whilst within 3 inches of this model. So if there's anything with a ward that you want to kind of snipe out, maybe a few Bretonnians, yeah, might be my answer to dealing with Bretonnians, which is pretty damn good. Now, let's talk about the weapons. First up, Wicked Claws, same strength value, -2 AP. And the big one, Warp Fire Blast. Range is 6 to 24 inches. Strength is 4 or 8 in the inner part of the template. Yes, this is a template. And it's -1 AP or -3 AP in the inner part. It's a bombardment, cumbersome, flaming attacks, and multiple wounds, but only to the thing in the center of the blast template. A single model, right? But, yes, this is basically a mobile flying artillery piece. You won't be able to fire every now and then because obviously you know, you're cumbersome and so on. But I think that it works out quite well because you can get into position, do a bit of a damage, then next turn, whack in. I would say, you know, using multiple ones, but unfortunately, they can only be used in groups of 0 to 1 when you're using in the Grand Army of Chaos. This is 0 to 1 is a rare choice. I would have loved to get 2, but again, yes, there's been a lot of dragon spam. I think even Games Workshop acknowledged it. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's 2 really cool monsters from ages past. We're finally seeing them re-released. I think that's a great thing. Now, there's a few other pages, which is basically magical items. There's some pretty good ones, I must admit, including a banner which is going to allow you to Vanguard, which is very, very good with your horsemen. It can only be taken with a Heralds of Darkness army, unfortunately. But I'm not going to showcase everything as per usual. This is because it is requested not to show the whole book, because, well, then people won't have the opportunity, well, the reason to get the book. That's the rule. I'm following the rules. You guys know me. I'm a stickler. But I do want to talk about a few things here because I don't generally review the books. It's more like a first look, and I think that this is still a first look video. However, I do want to outline some changes, some pros, some cons, some stuff which I feel is important. The pro is that the rules are very, very thematic. Wolves of the Sea sound very, very cool, and so do the Herald of Darkness armies. It's a bit of a shame that the monogod push, essentially, it is still not a proper push. It's for a cavalry list, but hey, it's still better than nothing. It sucks, though, when it comes to the monogod list, or even just in general the Heralds of Darkness stuff, because we are missing out on some mounted monogod units, which would be great here. Skull Crushers, Hellstriders, maybe the Doom Knights that were introduced for Total War Warhammer. You know, those are knights on discs, and Rot Knights would have been cool. Maybe that's something that Games Workshop will do in the future, but it sucks a little bit when you're looking towards a cavalry list and you're missing out on some kind of themed cavalry stuff. I think if they would have been in the Arcane Journal, it would have made the journal a lot better. Because another con here is that while we are getting some very cool units, the Skin Wolves, the Gigantic Chaos Spawn, and of course the Warpfire Dragon, the Kit Bash units are, I don't know, not great. Don't get me wrong, the Marauder Horseman standard kit that we currently have is very, very good, and it's aged incredibly well, but the Marauders on foot don't look as well, so kit bashing them, while they're more or less the same size, they kind of stand out. Maybe that's just me, but it's the big hands, right? It's something that a lot of people have, of course, noticed. Berserkers are very fun, so I will give them that. I do kind of enjoy them. Huskarls, I don't see the point. I would have really liked like a proper heavy infantry style Norscan. I mean, yeah, you can give them heavy armor when they're mounted on the horses and stuff, but it's still... I don't know. I think it just kind of misses the mark there. I think a big issue is the lack of characters. A lot of the other army books have had, well, Arcane Journals have had 3 characters. This one has 2, one of them being a dragon, which is very cool, but I think that the old model is going to put a lot of people off, even though you can use it in a Grand Army. And then there's Fridal, which yeah, you can use her in a Grand Army as an Exalted Champion, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like if they would have added another undivided character, it would have been kind of cool. There's a bunch of items, talismans, magical standards, magic armor, weapons, enchanted items, arcane items. So with that, you're going to have quite a lot to play around with. I'm a big Chaos fan. I like what I see. Galrock, the Warpfire Dragon. I think, honestly, if it wasn't for all the returning Forge World stuff, I might have been turned off a little bit. I do like the rules, though. I've said this before. They're very thematic. They're obviously very themed on either a Norscan horde or a cavalry thing. But, I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to do cavalry, they could have gone a little bit more Kurgan-y, and then that way we'd have a Norscan and a Kurgan tribe, right? Especially since we're eventually going to be looking towards Asavakul, which could then have seen a Kurgan character introduced. My big question is, where does this go from there? If we're going for a lieutenant, because this is a lieutenant of the lieutenant, it's been stated by Games Workshop, where do future journals go? Do we start looking towards monogod characters? There's been mention of, Arbal the Undefeated, Valnir, and so on. That would kind of demand monogod-themed armies, right? Arbal is a champion of Khorne. In short, I like the book, but it does raise a lot of questions. Are they kind of just holding out for some bigger stuff down the line? Or did they really, really want to push Norskins? Why is the Norskin stuff listed in a army journal, by the way, when, if you look towards the rulebook, there's a lore entry, like a separate race lore entry for Norska. So it just feels a bit strange here. I'm hoping that all these questions get answered as time progresses. We'll find out, and hopefully this game lasts as long as possible. I'd rather not see it go away. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. There's a lot to talk about, I guess, and we'll probably be doing some follow-up videos. I want to test out making my own Berserkers and Huskarls and stuff, and maybe we can see what can happen there. But until then, we have to wait until the Marauders release, which is Wave 2, I think. Which, yeah, all my Marauders right now, by the way, have been converted into Marauders of Slaanesh, because, yes. I'll see you all again very, very soon, guys.